In 1880, Richard Harris and Joe Juneau discovered gold up this direction in Silver Bowl Basin and then laid out the original Juneau town site in this general area. The town quickly grew as miners rushed into the area to take advantage of the gold discovery. Hello, I'm Scott Foster, and welcome again to Rain Country. And this week we take a look at some of the earlier days and some of the things that still exist. We begin here in downtown Juneau, where some of these buildings have been standing almost as long as the town of Juneau has been in existence. Ace Hardware Building was originally built in 1896 as the C.W. Young Hardware Building. Some of these old historic buildings in downtown Juneau have seen a lot of changes, like the beginning and the end of the gold mining industry, the move of the capital from Sitka, and the various industries all the way from fish to wood processing to government agencies coming and going. And through all these changes, these historic buildings in downtown Juneau have been our silent sentinels. This was a bowling alley when it opened in 1914. This structure was once the last building on Front Street before the water's edge. Originally called the Missouri Saloon, it later housed the Louvre Theater, a prominent live theater in the early mining days. This was the first concrete hotel in Juneau, and for many years its leading hotel. As one of several billiard parlors established during the mining days, this one catered to the socially elite. An early structure in Juneau's dock area and red light district, the Crystal Palace was one of the area's most popular bars and music halls. These could just be isolated older buildings like those found in any town, but today they're part of Juneau's downtown historic district and part of a major effort to capitalize on this community's origins.
All the communities are building in is an emphasis on historic preservation, on recapturing this history, because, you know, people come to Alaska, Scott, for two reasons. They come to see our beautiful environment, our, mountains, water, and they come for our history. And we can interpret our history through our buildings.
Today, the city and borough of Juneau helps historic renovation by providing infrastructure like streets and lights, information about the history of various buildings, and standards about some phases of construction. And the local government took the opportunity to add to the historic scene when local roads needed improvement.
We took a look at the expense, and for really a small percentage of the overall cost, it would be possible to do those renovations with a turn-of-the-century historic character. We used the light posts, the street furniture, the kiosks, and the widening of the sidewalks, and the striping of the sidewalks to simulate the boardwalk and so forth. And I think that really did quite a bit to stimulate the private sector.
I don't think Gail or I either of us thought of doing anything other than preserving the building. I mean, it's a piece of artwork. I guess the reason that we thought we could change the whole character of it was the fact that there was a ceiling, a drop ceiling put in. I don't know how long it had been here, for years, which covered up this marvelous ceiling. And Gail and I peeked around to see that enough of the old ceiling might be preserved so that a mold could be made to recreate what was here in 1913.
Another recently renovated building originally was two buildings, the Juneau Iron Works, built in 1898, and Central Building, built in 1913. The two were joined in 1944.
We maintained about 75% of the exterior wall and the basic concrete foundation walls across the back of the building. Other than that, it's essentially 100% new mechanical, electrical, and structural.
In addition to the increased visual benefits to the downtown area from historically renovated buildings, there's also a tax advantage to owners to do so.
Even now, under the new tax law, it does provide a historical tax credit process where a certain percent of the dollars that you put in are available in terms of tax credits back to building owners. This is essentially national policy to try to capture pieces of our older structures and to renovate them, substantial renovation, put them back into productive use.
Juneau is interesting because we can organize it into neighborhoods, historic neighborhoods, and we can almost see the development of the community neighborhood by neighborhood. Of course, the first one would be our downtown historic district, and we've sort of set the boundaries of that from 2nd Street south to the end of South Franklin. This is our downtown historic district, of which there's probably 67 buildings, and about 40 of them, 46 are historic. The next area is what I call the Juneau town site, and it comes from the 2nd Street up to 6th. This includes the Capitol building. This includes the governor's mansion, the houses on 6th Street, where the wonderful Davis houses are. There's probably 10 houses that were built by Trevor Davis's mother and father. Star Hill was settled almost immediately after the miners came in 1880. Before 1890, people were building cabins up on the hill. And they're significant because they are the remainder of probably 200 houses that once were in this area. And when I say this, I'm talking about Douglas, Thane, Juneau. There was a classic, I call it a shingle-style bungalow, and what it was a little box built of local materials, a living area, kitchen, 2 bedrooms and a bath, and it was our miners' houses, and they were everywhere. Chicken Ridge, all across 7th Street there, and this was our high rent district. This was where the owners of the mines, the superintendents lived, and the Wickersham house is there, the Thane Holbrook house, which was built by Bart Thane, Sloan house is there, and so then of course another area is the Casey Shattuck addition, the ABC streets down toward the Gold Creek. Casey Shattuck addition was added in 1914, 1916, around 1920. Again, modest homes. The town's growing.
Today, as Juneau grows, efforts are underway to secure national historic site designations for the downtown area and the miners' homes on Star Hill. In part, it's because a lot of people think it's good for the town.
I think it's important to downtown. We kind of got things kicked off. Other buildings have been renovated. The downtown looks great. The city has helped with a real interest in making the downtown attractive, both for the tourists and for local people. So it's all kind of snowballed. It's all been really positive.
I think, though, that the primary benefit that we've realized is sort of a continuation of the past. People have locals and tourists all have a very good feeling that this building has some sense or place as a commercial building in the history of Juneau. And that history goes all the way back to the Gold Rush era. And I think that people are looking for that when they come to Alaska. They're just looking for a district that has some linkage or a sense of the past.
One of Juneau's most important assets is the quality of the life here because of the numbers of historic buildings, and the fact is that our history is all around us.
This was the location of the first meeting of the territorial legislature in 1913. On the National Register of Historic Places, this is the oldest surviving hotel in continuous operation in Juneau. Originally a saloon and parlor house built during the Klondike Gold Rush, it sits in the old red light district and has housed various saloons since construction.